Aloha, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Welcome to day 25 of 25 days Force Majeure Christmas. I prefer silence. Oh, welcome to today's 25th day of Force Majeure Christmas. My gift to you is another year of me. All life is only blessed by cosmos oneness, Paramashiva God. The gift of life. Very blessed. I'm very blessed to be able to celebrate life as uniquely as I am. Mele Kaliki Maka is the thing to say on a bright Hawaiian Christmas day. That's the island greeting that I'm singing to you from a land where palm trees sway. Aloha. Happy holidays. Blessings. So today's day 25. We're gonna be going over because only recently, just within the last like 10 days max, right? I didn't know anything about Zionism, right? Just like I didn't know anything about Hawaii Kingdom and this and that, despite growing up in Hawaii, fourth generation, Hilo girl. You don't know these things. And so I'm very blessed that I didn't, one could say. But whatever's going on is going on. It's all divine timing. And so as I was looking around, that's how I came across Dr. Shiva and his videos, looking for information. What is this? Because don't know, right? Those who don't think like bullies, because essentially that's what it is. It's just straight up bullying. And so they have all these different words, these big words for it, but fundamentally it's just bullying, thinking one is better. And then if you want to get even to a smaller word, it's called ego. But the ego is such a small word, but it's so huge, right? And it's dynamic expressions. So I came across these videos, and so this is the flow. That's what in that oneness cosmic flow. Whoever is watching or seeing my videos or whatnot are part of this flow. Whatever it is, whatever's going on is going on. So who am I? Well, first of all, what am I doing? I am an investigative diplomatic mediator in the global neighborhood. I don't take sides. I'm for global peace, family-centric, consciousness-based societies. Basically, the melting pot of subjective truths, because I'm walking exclusively on the spiritual side, and where does the rubber meet the road is where all these from that perspective that I'm operating from. So kind of like a Hawaiian luau interculture, interfaith buffet style, because I enjoy life and all of its unique expressions. So in this, what is my core being? Well, to empower with independence, independent of self is true mother worship. That's why I'm an advocate for homeschooling. Um, Living the full dynamic of my rights to start my own family, lineage, sampradaya, vibe, tribe, religion, whatever you want to call it, of self-governed families expressing their own liberated consciousness, ensuring up-to-date DNA expressions spiritually, economically, and politically. The female form is the walking temple of life, more sacred and holy than temples, churches, holy places, and human achievement combined, the last guardians of the future, keeping everything current, including DNA, entrusted by the cosmos, Paramashiva, God. Mothers to initiate third eye and kundalini through umbilical cord initiation. Mother and father is the first guru. No one will ever grant me my birthright. Women are source of posterity, thus the right to have one's own country and currency, not the UN, not anyone or group, because time is life, and so even for money or currency, I'm proposing 1 hour for 1 hour exchanges only. That removes all of this hierarchical crap, because people become masters at what they choose to specialize in and continuously show up to do. That's it. And yeah. So the 460 powers of Mahadeva are real. Hinduism is real. All mothers are global leaders. Why? Why? Well, because we are entrusted for posterity. Whether it's a Jesus, a Krishna, a Buddha, or a Hitler can come through the female form. Even Swamiji, Bhagavan Nityananda Paramashivam, came through a female form, his mother. Only Cosmos, Paramashiva, God granted, blessed me life today. And you too, whoever you call upon, in that oneness, all-inclusive cosmos, ecosystem, blessed us with life. The Moksha Peace Treaty and it's basically self-governed sovereignty. That's how it used to be. Families govern themselves. So for moving forward, talking about force majeure, I'm going to repeat the question I continuously ask. Is it intelligent to go into college debt slavery, to pledge allegiance to the bar, British accredited regency, to practice American law in Hawaii Kingdom that is in an official war zone by American occupation? Treaties are contracts. Broken treaties are broken contracts. Occupation is war. Maritime Admiralty law, laws of war apply to all nations associated with the United Nations. Force majeure is a legal claim, making all contracts null and void in natural disasters or acts of God, war, or occupation. Global Peace Treaty is actual and factual humanitarian law with applicable remedy for full stop. You are here paying rent to who? It's a legit question. Built-in constructs of slavery. When landlords exist, slavery exists. So I'm advocating a redefining of slavery. No masters is no slaves. Either everyone owns an acre of land or no one owns land. With the deforestation, I'm advocating for food forests. So Kailasa or heaven on Bulaka earth or earth is possible. We are all a global neighborhood, especially with the internet. It really connects all of us, very makes the world very small. And so understanding that if one dharma or one family in the neighborhood is having a superiority complex because they feel superior, when in fact cosmic law is peaceful coexistence of we in dialogue and diversity, not just biodiversity, consciousness diversity, where we are, just as we all don't have the same fingerprint, we all have our own consciousness that contributes to the whole. And all religions are not the same, they are unique. There are few religions that teach Advaita. So in one Dharma, Advaita may or may not be there. But in Advaita, all of those one Dharma, it peacefully coexists in Advaita. Because why? Respecting consciousness. We must respect the consciousness that is there. So before we move forward, I want to take the time to share about the Congolese man who set himself on fire protesting genocide. That's been going on for decades. If you use tech, any tech that you have, it is blood tech, because the slavery that is being done to children as young as 4 are forced to mine raw materials for techs, and this is going decades long. And I would believe, since the computers were being made and used, and probably even before that. So a man, because no one knows about this, decided to set himself on fire. And I want to share this video on YouTube that or on TikTok that I found.
A Congolese man set himself on fire to bring attention to the ongoing genocide and exploitation that is happening to his people in the DRC. The video is circulating all over Twitter, and now it has made its way to TikTok right now. And people are outraged. And I actually searched up the whole situation to see if there's articles on it. And no BBC or CNN or Washington Post, none of these big publications covered it, because they want to hide what they are doing in the DRC. So the man literally set himself on fire. Like, I don't even know how he can have that kind of courage, but just to like bring attention to what's happening to the people of Congo. Like, they've been exploited. Millions of people, children at the age of 4, are mining cobalt and coltan and all kinds of stuff for the tech companies and all kinds of stuff. Okay, and I don't know if you have seen the video, but it's pretty heavy. And because we need to bring attention to this issue, guys. Nobody's talking about what's happening in Africa and how these people are suffering from the same colonial power. Israel, America, Britain, France, all these people are taking advantage of these innocent people and their lives. The conflict in the DRC is fueled by the competition for the rich natural resources of the region, such as gold, coltan, and cobalt, which are used in various industries and technologies. Literally every big company, every tech company, the government, everyone is taking advantage of the Congolese people and their natural resource, which belongs to them, and they're not even profiting from it. They're being forced to mine it. First of all, do all the hard work, risk their lives, and then these people steal it from them and come and make billions of dollars worth of profit off of these people's lives. So please share this video. Make it go wild, even outside of TikTok. If you see other people talking about this, nobody is covering this. There's no news articles covering this. Like, they don't care, because they're gonna lose profits if the world wakes up to support the Congolese people and also the Sudanese people and all the other exploitation and genocides in Africa. So please share this video outside of TikTok. Let's talk about this. The Congolese people desperately need us.
So I would like to take a moment of silence in respect for this Congolese man and his courageous ultimate sacrifice, as well as for all the Congolese people. Something to really contemplate and think about: who or what community or what mother or group of mothers in their right mind would allow a 4-year-old child to be taken to be enslaved unless they are raping women and forcing them to have children to continuously create or sustain this slavery. Something to consider. Those who eat meat, you are indifferent to the suffering of the animals that are being caged and abused similarly. Let's take a moment of silence. Thank you. I encourage everyone to do not just their genealogy, but their spiritual genealogy as well, to heal your depression and anxiety, or to get started on that. It's the most delicious, beautiful adventure in celebrating your life, regaining what was stolen or hidden from you by colonizers. Or later on, you'll understand that it's Zionists. The Zionists, it's not a religious thing. It's a mental setup of supremacy that we'll be learning about that today. And this really addresses that, right? That scene in Braveheart. Grandpa's fighting over whose family story is better and more legitimate. My question is founded on what? Violence, posturing, threatening, imposed ignorance, theft, torture, caging, kidnap, rape, prostitution, science, experimenting, torture, murder, genocide? How does that really matter? Only to that guy waving around his crayon scribbles on the other side of the rock wall, crazy neighbor suffering from narcissism. So the source of narcissism, from my own research and conclusions, theory, is due to colonizers and that mental setup of supremacy that they are continuously doing. And it's in the DNA. Why do I call it crayon scribbles? It's because when you look at all these boys fighting in their own little, good old boy network, their little boys club over there, right? And being, well, my daddy is better than your daddy. And I'm pretty sure it's really down to that, because when you go and where this whatever is going on, it always comes down to who wrote language first and then who had the first law book. Literally, it's that silly. It's like kindergarten, like, for serious. I'm for serious on this. What are we consciously perpetuating? Right? Let's normalize going forward, right? Handmade gifts, digital gifts, regifting, secondhand gifts, consumable gifts, experience gifts, small business gifts. So all I want for Christmas is for you to go vegan. Project Animal Freedom. So just like the Congolese people, which I'm sure something of a similar nature is happening to the women families there. There isn't families. There's just rape, torture, and kidnap, murder, genocide, enslavement. If we remain silent for animals, the same atrocities are happening to our fellow humans in Congo, Gaza, Hawaii, Native Americans, etc., etc. It's colonizers' mental setup. The mental setup we're going to learn today is supremacy, supremists, or Zionists. Just a warning, if you travel beyond this point, you will be responsible for costs of search and rescue. Personal responsibility code, I call on Mahadeva, Paramashiva, Mahaparamashiva. So in my research, figuring out what this is, I've run into that because of the colonizers running away from the British, the Boston Tea Party is still going on, and the British are winning. How do I know? Because the first question I ask, is it intelligent to go into college debt slavery, to pledge allegiance to the bar, British accredited regency, right? They're in charge of the laws here as well as the credit scores. That's how that answers that question, right? So, and then there are two sides of the American coin, but both are Zionist in constructs, essentially. So I know this graphic needs an update, right? I make graphics as I understand and I update them. This needs an update, but I'm still yet to have the inspiration of how to go about it. Which I think it's okay as it is, right? Because it's the land of the free are the earth peoples, First Nation peoples. That's where colonizers who've been abused and trying to run away from their narcissistic abuser and have their own cognitive dissonance and this and that, and still the comfort zone of the abuse, bringing that dis-ease with them instead of leaving it where it was, right? Then they go and genocide all the Aboriginal cultures. And so before I go forward, I want to share a huge win that Kailasa has had because Kailasa is the only Hindu nation that Nityananda Paramashivam has brought or revived. There used to be 56 Hindu nations. Now, the fact that nobody knows about this, for the most part, is because it was that long ago. Hundreds, thousands of years ago. Right? Because of why? Colonizers, constant attack because of Hindus do not convert, they do not colonize, very sophisticated in consciousness, and also live ahimsa, which is nonviolence. The 5 basic truths for Hindus is satya, which is truth, to live satya, ahimsa, which is nonviolence, asteya, which is no. That's like saying the mother who gave birth to you is not your mother, right? So that's just, anyway. But I'm putting out a kahea to all of the earth peoples, including Hawaii Kingdom, that they should reach out to Kailasa to find out how they went about this legally, because they are definitely leading the way for all indigenous Aboriginal cultures. But again, right? It is what it is. Whatever's happening is happening. I have No attachment to any of it. Just gotta keep saying it. The judicial statehood of the United States of Kailasa. The United Nations upholds Kailasa's privileges while recognizing Kailasa's inherent unbroken historic sovereign status as per the preamble of both the UN Convention on Diplomatic Relations and the UN Convention on Consular Relations that declares that historical rules of customary international law continue to govern and confirm that all nations from ancient times have recognized privileges and immunities of sovereign entities of differing constitutional and social system preamble, and requires that a state shall not discriminate as between states, including a historical form of statehood, Article 47.1. Kailasa is a sovereign subject of international law possessing distinctive attributes of judicial statehood derived from its inheritance of the unbroken succession and revival of three ancient Hindu sovereign states, namely the kingdoms of Surya Vamsa, Surangi Samrajayam, Sarvanyapitam, Sarvanyapita, Swargapura, Samraja, Sarvanyapitam, Shamalapita Sarvanyapitam, also the Kanchi Kailasa Sarvanyapitam, and 17 sovereign Hindu ecclesiastical historical institutions that receive customary recognition by the United Nations as per the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations and the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations. Further, in international law, the doctrine of continuity states that upheavals and revolutions within a country, changes in governmental forms, the extent of a country's territory, and measures taken during a military occupation do not negate the existence of the country. Therefore, just as any other state under international law, Kailasa shall afford its due diplomatic recognition, privileges, and immunities. There's a huge success. So, just like how the whole Gaza situation is going, and there's all of these data and statistics, as well as the Native Americans and the Kanaka Maoli. Do you believe you're entitled to the land of Israel because your ancestors once lived there? You can talk about words, but Kailasa has definitely forged it into the legal reality. I am sick and tired of coveting and then having to sit and listen to all these dialects of legalese to deconstruct people's perspective when it's really a waste of time, right? All of it is all posturing and whatever, and so I really appreciate Dr. Shiva and the material and things that he's studied and put together as well, in just straight full disclosure, right? I do appreciate that because I just am done with everybody's ego, supremacist ideas, or freaking whatever. All of it. So before we go into some heavy brain action, I wanted to share some really cool short little videos on leveling up your yarn skills, because like for me, I do crochet, and this I thought was amazing. Brain just went, what? Because making it all into a ball or whatever and whatever, yeah. So thought this was like really cool. your brain didn't go like, what? You don't crochet. You don't have to deal with those yarn problems. And then this one I thought was like, wow. Same level, but a different way of like, wait, what? Brain just went explode.
The United States swiftly stepped in. They confiscated everything and degraded the dye. Not only is Dicenium extremely hard to get a hold of, it is almost completely blacklisted from the internet.
Now what is very interesting is he's created glasses to see, but when you attend Parma Shivoham and you use your third eye automatically does that for you. You don't need to have anything external. You literally do not need anything external for anything. So now I'm going to share the talk that Dr. Shiva did on the Zionist concept has been very effectively used to manipulate Jews, the working class Jews versus the bourgeois Jews, going all the way back to World War II. But he goes further in it about it here, but the thing is he explains this whole, because it's a mental setup and it's a global situation. That's why you have the globalists, the global international corporations. And for those of you who have not seen his swarm video, yeah, I think I should share that video after this too, so that you really understand what it is that is going on.
The swarm is very clever. It will create the theater, and that's what we're seeing right now with Israel. So when you look at Israel, using that systems approach, Kim, it gives you a prescience to see things. You're super smart. It's because there are certain principles that are there. So right now, if you look at what's going on with Israel, it's the same phenomenon. And to understand that, we have to understand the interlinkages of history. So if you go back to 2008, Barack Obama was brought in as a candidate of the swarm, right? Overnight, the Pritzkers, I think one of the big families in Chicago, funded him. And this one-term senator is thrust upon people because people were pretty upset at that point with the Bushes. So they needed hope. So Obama is created and he's thrust upon people. In fact, 57% of people voted for Trump, voted for Obama. People need to understand that. So he was able to, quote unquote, appeal to the broad working class who, instead of breaking and building a bottoms-up movement, they needed to put another false idol. And that's really the goal. They do not want people to build a bottoms-up movement. And once we understand that, you'll see why they create these characters. So what does Obama do? At the height of his presidency in 2008, the Zionists who control the financial systems, the Zionists and their cohorts, the swarm, who were involved in printing money, realized that they had been making all these derivative products, these loans, which were going to fail and fall. And they had a major failure in 2008. And all the banks failed because they were giving out crazy types of products. That was created by the collusion and real innovation. Just look at it. So they needed, and people had had it with Obama, they needed a new fake idol. And that was the purpose of Trump. Trump was created, he was manufactured. If you look at his balance sheet, I have somebody I know who analyzed his balance sheet, okay? He had $1 billion in assets and $2 billion in debt. And this guy told him, look, Donald, you're a billionaire, you're a negative billionaire, right? He was a reality show billionaire. So they found this guy, gave him all the talking points, drain the swamp, lock her up. I'm sure they did amazing focus group analysis on this, but particularly the white working class would want to hear. He was brought in, and what did he do? There was an economic crash that was predicted to come. So in order not to have that economic crash come out, and in a true market capitalism model that should have come out, and we should have gotten rid of all the products that didn't work, right? Instead, they created a pandemic. The pandemic was a wonderful crisis that they created to hide the underpinnings of the fact that the entire financial system was running on fumes. And what did Trump do? In one term, he printed $8 trillion. Where did that money go? It went to 600 billionaires who increased their wealth by $2.3 trillion. Elon Musk being among one of them, who's like this with government. He's a front man for government. And the stock market, which was going like this, did a nice V-turn, if you remember. But still, the economy is running on fumes. And in my thesis, if you follow this all the way through, this October, there should be a massive crash. Anyone who looks at this knows that the stock market is at 1,000 people who protested against him because he was trying to manipulate the judiciary. And none of this is mainstream media. Right. From April to October, he had sent twice to invade the main mosque there. So he wanted to incite something. It's your typical corrupt leader who's got internal problems and they want to point it to someone else and start a war. And that's what Netanyahu did. And by the way, if you look at the shekel price, people should just map it from January 2022 to today. It's been precipitously coming down, which means the Israeli elites have been selling off the shekel and more than likely moving to treasuries. So you have many Israeli companies have been moving out. So Israel is in disaster economically. Netanyahu's entire existence is threatened. So how wonderful, I'm not saying this happened in this way, a phone call is made to Hamas, which by the way, Israel created, okay? Yossi Cohen, the Mossad chief, 2 years before that, had been with Qatar saying, please fund Hamas more. So overnight, you see these gliders coming over, evading supposedly the most amazing surveillance that Israel has, AI watching every microsecond, comes in and says, you have this crisis. Now it helps the U.S. swarm and the Israeli swarm. Both are very connected, a la Zionism, because the United States economy is running on fumes. Now you have the third opportunity to do quantitative easing and print more money. And that's what this is about. You have to follow the money. And from a systems perspective, all fits beautifully because the swarm protects itself. And Zionism is very key to this because the Zionist concept has been very effectively used to manipulate Jews. And we should talk more about that, the working Jews versus the bourgeois Jews going all the way back to World War II. People need to understand Zionism is racism, is a political ideology. Zionists collaborated with the Nazis in the Warsaw Ghetto Revolt for disarm the Jews who actually wanted to fight. Zionism and Nazism have always gone together like this. And in the United States, the Zionists have been very effective at manipulating the quote-unquote Christian evangelical Zionists. Broad mass among America, there's this big support for quote-unquote Israel, and that really comes from the evangelicals. The evangelical Christians, who many of them are very connected to Mossad and Israel, if you do a little bit of research, and in fact, right to Bibi Netanyahu. So the manipulation that's gone on is quite extraordinary. And Mike Johnson, who's a recent speaker, the second in line to be president, completely reflects that. Here's a hardcore, quote-unquote Christian. I put that in double quotes because I don't think Christ supports Zionism. And he is, first thing he does is when he gets elected, he does a proclamation, we must support Israel. So it says it pretty much right there. So we need to look at this in the context of finance and money supply. The money supply, as Milton Friedman says, when it contracts more than 2 quarters, there's typically going to be a bear market. And they're trying to stave off a bear market. That's what this is all about. And war is a wonderful way. You have a little dip, and then you print money and you come out of it. So that's what this whole setup is. And all of this is being done at the expense of Jewish people and the Palestinian people. And when I say the Jewish people, the non-Zionists, because frankly, the Zionists don't give a damn about Jews, nor do they give a damn about Palestinians. And all of this feeds British and U.S. imperialism. It was Britain that allowed Zionism to go and occupy this land because they wanted that strategic outpost. They wanted to create a strata of people who would be their frontmen to basically seize that location and create a perpetual war. And so when Booby Kennedy says he wants to support that
aircraft carrier in the Middle East,
aircraft carrier, he's telling you boldly, at least finally people should see who he is. On the medical freedom movement, he supported Hillary Clinton. He wanted people coming to his home to be vaccinated. So when you put it all together, what I love about this issue about Zionism, and it exposes who these people are. Tulsi Gabbard has to reveal that she is a part of the swarm. Bernie Sanders has to reveal he's part of the swarm. It is that defining issue. And then you're finding these other people who you may have disagreed on other things. When it comes to Zionism, we can actually unite on that. So that's what I see the opportunity here.
It certainly is another one of those topics that is reorganizing alliances. There's no doubt about that. People that I agreed with very much so during the pandemic or about the endless wars. Suddenly, when it comes to this one issue, it's just all in for Israel, all in for sending, even if it means sending American troops to battle it over there. This new war on terror 2.0. Tulsi Gabbard's all in on this. She's very much like radical Islam is the number one thing we must battle. And it's really, because how successful have we been at that over the last 20? When have we ever had a single success on that? All we've done is make it more radical, right? Create ISIS or create, because people are going to be angry when you kill their kids. That's what's going to happen. And they're going to want to liberate their people, like revenge, and a lot of times very brutally. I think that is something that if you were to kill my kid, and I get it, and I get that's why Israel now is saying they came after us and our 1,300 people, and so now we're just gonna. But I agree with you that because I'm seeing this movement in Israel as well, this uprising against Netanyahu, that a lot of them are saying there's been enough blood, there's been enough war, our people were killed, their people were killed, we're done with this, like we don't need any more. But Netanyahu, who's trying to save his own skin, and he's very intertwined in the U.S. political system, he's very close with Jared Kushner and Trump and all these various different people, and he's certainly absolutely trying to save his skin. So a lot of they equate, because the narrative right now is that if you say Israel or if you say Zionism, you're really meaning Jews, which is not the same thing at all. Zionism is a movement.
Yeah. So in this educational process, Kim, when you go back and look at this, if you look at maps going all the way to 1600, it clearly says Palestine. Okay. Just as a side note, and this is not the central note, imagine you're living in Vermont and you've lived there for 300 years. The Vikings, who actually did come there, say, hey, we have this place. We were there 4,000 years ago. That's our land. It makes ludicrous. Okay. You dug up some 4,000-year-old rock. So that's where that's coming from. But so that's one just points to people how stupid this is, how ludicrous it is, because you have to look at the current context that was taking place. The current context of the time, if we go to the mid 1800s, and by the way, I've spent time in Israel about 6 weeks, and I have a lot of good Jewish friends, right? Where many of them are anti-Zionist, by the way.
Yeah.
So when I was in the 80s, when I was 17, 18 years old, I really started exploring this. And so for me, it was very personal because I grew up in India where there was a caste system, and Hinduism was never originally based on the caste system. Then you created this thing called the Brahmin caste system, which is very much like Zionism. That's where Tulsi Gabbard is getting the stuff from, because she's quote unquote a Hindu. And so the Brahmanical caste system took elements of Hinduism, and then they packaged it up to justify the fact that one group of people were chosen over the others. Very fundamentally similar, the Brahmin caste system to Zionism. So when I came to the United States, I grew up in Patterson, which is a very poor African-American public school system, then Clifton. Parsippany had, very interestingly, Jews, but they were working class Jews. My 6th grade teacher had been in the Navy. He ran a small deli, right? But when I moved to Livingston, New Jersey, by the way, where Jared Kushner and Ivanka maybe still used to live, Chris Christie was a catcher of our baseball team. I used to pitch. I noticed a big difference. Me and my sister were the only two dark-skinned Indians among this massive group of around 4,000 Jewish kids. And I remember around 9th or 10th grade, the parents would send their kids to Israel. And these very nice friends of mine would come back rabid Zionists, wanting to kill every Arab. It was quite amazing to watch this transformation. But there was always in the ether the concept of the chosen people. Now, Livingston was a much wealthier school system than Parsippany or Clifton. So the reason I want to unpack this is that they're with them. So even back then, they would do division among the Jews and the Christians, right? And say, hey, you're being treated in anti-Semitic ways. But what one needs to understand is that even back then, the bourgeois Jews always collaborated, even with the Cossacks, against their own people. And people should go do some history on this. Yeah. But anyway, Theodore Herzl, H-E-R-Z-L, he comes out in the middle of all of this in the 1800s. And there were two trends at that time among Jewish people. One trend was, hey, we're everyday people. We have the right to fight back for our progressive nationalist rights. The ethnic nationalism was what Herzl represented. And he really wanted to actually divide Jews. He wasn't into Jews fighting against their oppression, very much like Marcus Garvey did in the United States. In the Black movement, Marcus Garvey said, oh, we're being mistreated here. Let's go back to Africa. It was an ethnic nationalism. Let's go back to our old homeland, forgetting that the African kings themselves were slave owners, right? So Herzl came from that trend of the bourgeois Jews. He manufactured a philosophy called Zionism, which was based on racism. And his collaborators were other racists who funded him. Cecil Rhodes, C-E-C-I-L-R-H-O-D-E-S. Rhodes, R-H-O-D-S. Rhodes was the founder of Rhodesia, very closely linked with apartheid South Africa, and for example, exploiting the hell out of Black people all over South Africa. He was the one who founded the Rhodes Scholarship at Oxford. He was very much into starting World War I, demonizing the Germans. Horrible human being. But that's where Herzl got his funding from one of the most racist people on the planet. At the 6th brought European Jews. You just need to understand these people weren't dark-skinned Arabs. They were white Jews from Europe who'd been there for 300 years. And these people essentially come in, occupy Palestine. It was an invasion. There were Arabs who were Jews. There were Arabs who were Christians, Arabs who were Muslims there. And a number of Arabs who were Jews start converting to Islam based on the treatment they suffered from these European Jews coming, quote unquote Zionists. And so that's the origin of the Zionist movement. But it was done, when I say Zionism is racism in the service of imperialism, this is British and US imperialism who want their aircraft carrier in the Middle East, who want that strategic location. They did this divide and rule policy, and Herzl was a perfect character to support them in this process. At the time, one needs to understand that this is a very critical thing to understand. Times, the Zionists, who are the bourgeois Jews, collaborated with Hitler against working class Jews, many of them who were trade union leaders, organizing these bottoms-up movements to overthrow Hitler. They collapsed in the famous ghetto revolt. Jews, Zionists, were the police force in those ghettos. And it was those people, in fact, led people to the gas chambers. It was those people who collaborated with Nazis, and there were Jews who were fighting Hitler with Molotov cocktail sticks and stones, and they exposed these people, they disarmed them. So everyone needs to understand there's Zionism, there's Judaism, right? And they're two different phenomena.
The vast majority of the people of Israel and the people of Palestine just want a better life. They just want to work and have a good life for their children, for themselves, have homes, have opportunities. That's all they want. And they could absolutely do it together. I have no doubt in me, after meeting the Palestinian people, after being around in Israel and seeing the average Israelis, they could absolutely live together and have a prosperous, wonderful life, just like we've been able to do here in the United States. You and I, as people who are not white, we do believe that we can make it. We can work in this country, that we have opportunities. We don't have to be separated and segregated from one another. We don't need to live like that. And I believe that the swarm, like you're saying, the swarm of on all sides is just operating together for their own self-interest. You think Hamas wants to end this if these guys are making billions of dollars off of this conflict? You think these Israeli Likud party people want to stop this when it's self-preservation, they're making money and they're in the elite and they're the swarm? Nobody wants to end it, but the people do. And you're right, we have to rise up, we have to get the message out, and we have to say the people, this is for the people, this is what the people want. We want to end this division and this hatred and this rhetoric that's meant to divide us and keep us separated, just to keep them going, keep the swarm going. That's all we're doing. And you have really wonderfully pointed that out. So I really definitely recommend everybody watch the swarm video. Again, that is down below. Also, you have I noticed at the end of the swarm video, you mentioned you have an institute that people can learn from.
Yeah, what I did, Kim, when I got back from my Fulbright work, I realized one of the most important things that we can do to help everyone in the world is to learn the science of systems. I used to teach it at MIT to elites. The elites use the science of systems. They understand the dynamics of control. But that same knowledge, curriculum, can be used for us for our own liberation. So I put this curriculum together, and I realized that, like fire being brought to the masses, like Prometheus did, we need to bring this knowledge to the masses. So I created it, put it into a course, and people can go to truefreedomhealth.com, and people can learn it. And if you're an adult and you learn it, you can then give it away to as many children as you want, between 13 to 18. Okay. So it is the science of systems, in my view, that is going to be the liberating force. It gives people the tools to understand this so they don't get into the left or right camp. And that, to me, it's about raising human consciousness. We're at an extraordinary time where there's massive darkness taking place. It's an opportunity for people to raise consciousness. And if enough of us do that, consciousness, raising the consciousness is also as an energy. It spreads to others. So that's the opportunity that we have.
So tell us how your campaign is going.
Yeah, so it's going really well, Kim. As you can see, if you look broadly across, when we're not shadow banned on social media, more and more people, you can look at it every day, say, hey, I'm going to vote for Dr. Shiva, I'm going to vote for Dr. Shiva, I'm going to vote for Dr. Shiva. Hey, this guy is the one who has consistently spoken the truth. Every Thursdays, we do a town hall. So, for example, this evening, we do a town hall. We get those numbers keep growing. But a lot of what we're doing, Kim, is to get people on the ground. As I shared last time, when people go to our website, Shiva for President, they download bumper stickers, but we actually have a very powerful flyer. It's old school, Kim, what I used to do when I was a student activist, right? A flyer, one-page flyer. The left side of the flyer really shares with people this curve. It's called the lifespan curve, and we're the first ones who started really sharing that, about the fact that your children's lifespan will be shorter than yours. And that's not because of the vaccine. It's the issue of systemic policies that go back all the way to the 1960s, which really started showing up in the 1980s. And it's policies. And in that flyer, it says this is a policies of the swarm, and voting for the lesser of two evils, or even for quote unquote fake independence like Booby Kennedy, are not going to do it. You need a systems overhaul. And then we describe in that flyer what's a swarm, right? Where they can take their iPhone and click and go watch the swarm video. And on the right side of the flyer, because we have very little real estate, we explain to people who are campaigning how you can get educated to take a systems understanding and come to our town hall. So our goal is to get around 50 million of these flyers on the ground. So we, in our movement, have close to about 500,000 people globally. So we've been doing a lot of hard work. Now, in every state, we have to get on the ballot, which means you have to have an organization structure. Typically, only the Republicans and Democrats have that. Fortunately, we have that infrastructure. We have leaders in every state. So it's a pretty large operation we're running. I love building organizations. I've done it as an entrepreneur. You have to figure out how to motivate people. You have to build sort of they say, look, for 3 reasons, not only can I run and be president, A, I can run because of the First Amendment. 2, because of the 2011 opinion of the Federal Election Commission, which clearly said an actualized citizen can run, but you just can't get federal matching funds, which I'm not interested in anyway. But more importantly, the 14th and 5th Amendment reciprocate each other, which again, have never been asserted. The first article said that only men could be president. The 19th Amendment allows women to be president. Similarly, the argument is the 14th Amendment does. And most legal scholars agree with this. It's just no one has asserted it, actually said, hey, I'm running for president and I'm going to file a declaratory relief lawsuit. That's what we're doing.
Okay, great. I want to talk about the swarm. You just have such an interesting way of putting this out there. When a lot of us talk about, and we hear this all throughout social media, and many people are very concerned about
and your children's health. The future is going offline. And if you really want to get educated, go to Truth for Them Health and start understanding how systems work. But that's the way out. It's education. Get educated or be enslaved. That's my slogan here. And that's it's a long game in that sense, but it's the ultimate game.
Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, this has been a wonderful conversation once again. Thank you so much for being here. And I do have all those links down below so anybody can find everything really easily, but wonderful, enlightening conversation. Oh, I thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Kim. Great discussion. Very intelligent. I'm glad we had this conversation.
So I will share the swarm video so that we can watch that, because it's very eye-opening, and every time I'm watching it, I learn something more perspectives.
Good evening, everyone. It's Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. How a very small set of people control 8 billion people. This is what I call the elite. Let's say there's about 10,000 of them. How is it these people are able to their goal? The goal of the elites here is power, profit, and control. This is the goal. So if we look at it from a control system, what are the inputs they're sending into this system to achieve their goals? And what is the output that they seek? So if you're an elite over here and you're looking at those 8 billion people, how do you know you're achieving your goal? Are people getting fat, meaning unhealthy? Are people getting dumb, which means ignorant? Are people happy, which means are they being entertained? Are people divided? Are they isolated, disconnected? They don't want people here connecting with each other. Are people feeling helpless? Are people looking to the elites to save them? And they like that. They like when people here are looking to them, the enemy here, for their saviors. They really love that. They want people to be disorganized, and they definitely want people to be helpless. This is what they want. If you do not want to unite among people here and find who your own leaders are from below, they are quite happy. They're achieving their goal. Power, profit, and control. Now, how do they do this? You're going to realize it's not any one group. It's an interconnected, tightly knit group. They're all closely interconnected. In fact, they all go to the same restaurants. They have all their kids going to the same equestrian shows. They all shop at the same place. They all go to the same parties. You're not part of that. So who are these people? And what are the institutions of power that they have? Well, the CEOs of these institutions. And these guys know each other. They definitely work together. The next thing you have is you have government, U.S. senators, prime ministers of countries, advisors to government, think tanks, the Belfer School at Harvard, the Stanford Internet Observatory. They created the censorship infrastructure. This includes CIA, right? Intelligence organizations. And again, all these people know each other. They're interconnected. They're a swarm. They're tightly knit. They're not divided like these people over here. They're not disconnected. They're highly interconnected. So these people are focused on power. But then you also have a whole nother people, the CEOs of the global 2000 companies, other big organizations like big pharma companies, Pfizer, big agriculture companies like Syngenta, big investment companies, JP Morgan. We put Deutsche investment companies, and these investment companies sit on the board of these companies and they shuffle back and forth. So this is all about making money, right? These people are about making the dollar. These people are all about power. This is profit. And then fundamentally, you have control. Hollywood over here. This includes celebrities. You have their agents, Hollywood agents, like Ari Emanuel, as I've talked about, who's a guy who controls most of Hollywood. He controls Worldwide Wrestling Federation, the MMA, etc. The media companies. This includes Disney, Viacom. This includes now Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. These are large media companies. Google, you can put in there also. You also have big news stations, CNN, Fox. And combined with this, now we have another group, social media influencers. This is like Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, these characters who have come in, but they do not exist without support from these guys. If you notice, overnight, a bunch of social media influencers have come out of nowhere. And these people are created by these people. So when you look at this, the academics, the NGOs, the government, the think tanks, the investment companies, the Fed, the big pharma, the CEOs, the Hollywood celebrities, media, social media influencers, and the news companies. And you can even take the top 10 of each one of these. They all know each other, everyone. And in order to manipulate these people, they need front men to manipulate these people with policies. Because what comes out are policies. These are the inputs they put into the system, propaganda. They feed these people purposely, people who they tell them are going to save them, like the Elon Musks or Trump or the Kennedys. Now, who are the people part of the swarm that does that? They have the obvious establishment. And these people are like the Clintons or the McConnells or the Obamas or the Bushes or the Queen of England. Typically, people say, oh yeah, those guys in the places of the elites. And these people are the ones that are used to send the inputs of this controller. In system science, these are the controllers. These are the people controlling the inputs that go in. And remember, their goal is to make sure people are in the state of division, disconnection, and helplessness, particularly. They're observing all this. They have their sensors. And one of the features that they notice is that as long as people are in dysfunction and diseased mentally, physically, emotionally, they're happy. Well, what are those diseases these days? We see obesity. We see endocrine disruption, men with low testosterone, and people questioning their sexuality. We also see people with cancer. The world's population's life expectancy is going down. The United States is going this way. This is from 1980 to 2020. They like this. This is life expectancy. In fact, when they see dysfunction, you know what they do? They put another input in, which is normalize the dysfunction. Eat sugars and high fructose food. Well, over here, people have been literally getting fat. It's led to obesity. Or they've been putting in foods that are affecting people's gut microbiome. This is what I call from policy to biology. People are getting worse and worse. They're actually making more money because the obesity now creates obesity drugs. The endocrine disruptors, let's talk about this. This will really explain what's going on with Bud Light. About 20 years ago, there was research done at the universities that clearly showed the use of restricted use pesticides like atrazine and other chemicals in the atmosphere actually cause endocrine disruption, which could reduce male testosterone, which could also affect mammals where the sex organs can change. And this was done by the work of Tyrone Hayes. So if you're over here at a university and you find out one of your researchers discovered that, and you are playing golf with people over here at Syngenta is the one who produced atrazine, they're going to say, hey man, we don't want this research coming out, because you have to understand something. The investment community here is investing in all of these companies. So if you're one of these large investment companies, you're moving trillions of dollars. $600 trillion, by the way, move through the economy every day. You as one of the elites managers of money, you're moving all this money. You know all of these people. You know the CEO of Target, you know the CEO of Anheuser-Busch, you know the CEO of Pfizer and Syngenta. And imagine that you see, wow, the stuff that we've been creating is causing sexual disruption changes. You're seeing a phenomenon where more and more people are questioning their sexuality. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that the general public doesn't understand this, because if they did, they would awaken to something favors for each other. And then again, you would go do it at Target. You try to normalize it because you don't want people over here to understand the bigger picture. But you are interconnected. You could strike deals left and right. Let's do a marketing campaign in here. Let's normalize. Same thing if you can look at what's going on in obesity. All these pharma companies are making big money from obesity drugs, but there's movies on Netflix and Amazon promoting fat people as a norm. What's happening over here, you have people who are pro-fat and people who are anti-fat people. You have people pro-woke and anti-woke. And they don't care. So you have a bunch of these idiots writing books against woke companies and anti-woke companies. You have people creating apps, only shop at anti-woke companies, don't go to woke companies. But you guys understand that these guys don't give a damn? They're making money anyway. The investment bankers are going to make money from woke companies and anti-woke companies. But what's occurring here is people are being divided. These guys are happy because they're inputting policies and propaganda. People here are being divided, and that is the goal, to achieve power, profit, control. So as long as these people work together as a swarm to control the policies and the propaganda, and they provide false heroes, and they're using the Trumps, the Kennedys, and Gandhis, all of them who talk a big game, their goal is to make sure that you never understand this, that you keep thinking, oh, Kennedy's going to solve the problem. Trump is going to solve the problem. They don't want you to be leaders in your own communities. They want you to outsource your future to people like Trump or Kennedy because they're part of the swarm. And you keep getting more unhealthy, more ignorant, more entertained. But most importantly, you are divided. People here don't organize themselves to smash these people up. And this is the history of human oppression. They have it down to a system, a goal, they have a controller, they have specific inputs, and they manipulate billions of people to achieve this state. They produce dysfunction. They don't give a damn if you die. The life expectancy in the United States, your children are going to die sooner than you. And they've achieved their goal. They don't give a damn. Do you understand? These people are eating organic foods. They get the best restaurants. They get the best insurance. They get the best health care. And this is what they want to achieve. And that's how they're controlling people. The other way they're controlling you is they want you to keep looking to the elites like Trump and Kennedy and all these people to save you. They want you to look to the swarm. They do not want you to ever support a Malcolm X or a Dr. Shiva or you. They don't want you to become leaders. And this is a goal. As long as you're divided, as long as you're looking over here, you're going to achieve their goal of power, profit, and control. So what's the way out? How do we win? The first way we win, everyone's got to be aware of the science of systems. Without this understanding, there are goals, there are controllers, there are systems, there are intelligences, there are dumb systems. You are never going to break out of this because you will think everything is, oh my God, we got to talk about aliens and UFOs and flat earth or this. All those may be interesting. So we've created that weapon. And with this weapon, this is a hammer here, we have a way to smash this swarm. But without the understanding of this, without you understanding this system science, without you understanding the knowledge of systems, you will never break out of this. Please volunteer. Go to ShivaForPresident.com, volunteer. And by the way, when you donate, I don't like to take people's money for nothing. I give you books and courses and access to the entire community at TruthFreedomHealth.com. So please take advantage of that if you want to donate. But if you don't want to donate, volunteer. We're going to be getting on the ballot in all the states. So we need people on the ground. So go to Shiva for President, numeral4president.com, and volunteer, volunteer, volunteer. Our campaign is about mobilizing you. We have a whole program that we want to train you to be a leader. So we get connected. We're no longer helpless. We stop looking to these fools like Kennedy and Trump and all these other people because where have they gotten us? They're part of the system to increase power, profit, and control. This is why a small set of people, the elites, to keep getting richer and richer off the backs of people. This is why these people are able to control you because they make you disconnected and divided in a very, very systems way. This is the science of systems that they're using. There's about 10,000 people that learn this science. Not a hyperbole. They want to kill you. The movement for Truth, Freedom, Health and our campaign for Shiva for President is about making sure you live long and prosper. And the only way to do it is you have to become aware of this, recognizing that there's a systems process. Fortunately, TruthFreedomHealth.com exists. I wish I didn't have to go do this. In fact, our parents should have done this for us. But anyway, Truth, Freedom, Health exists. Our campaign exists. So go to ShivaForPresident.com, become a volunteer, become a warrior scholar at TruthFreedomHealth.com. Every Thursdays at 11 a.m. and at 8 p.m. I do a open house, and we have our 8 p.m. town halls for our campaign. Please join them. You can RSVP at vashiva.com orientation. The other important you can do where we start taking control of our lives, that you start supporting one of us. I'm one of you, leaders, bottoms up. I didn't grow up in a Kennedy compound. I didn't grow up with golden plated toilet seats. I grew up like you guys. And as a part of that, make sure that you share this video. Hit the share button. Make sure you retweet it. Make sure you click the notify. Make sure you put comments on, because you know that I've been exposing their false heroes, Elon Musk and the Kennedys and all their not so obvious establishment people. ShivaForPresident.com, TruthFreedomHealth.com. Thank you, everyone. Be well. Be the light. Have a good night. Have a good morning. Good afternoon, wherever you are.
So right now I'm debating if I should share that his Twitter lawsuit that he won, and how he found out through him running for Senate, I believe, and uncovered how the social media and government work together to shut out free speech. And pretty much the highest free speech is criticizing or having a different opinion than the leaders, right? Well, I can't find the video that I am looking for. Okay. Well, I'll look for it and share that again tomorrow. It's very eye-opening on how he, to go beyond that and get initiated in Third Eye and Kundalini. Kailasa does have Parma Shivoham program. It's like a spiritual gymnasium super mall. It starts, tomorrow. Tomorrow is the first day of the next season, season 7. So from December 26th to January 15th, please register, come, and learn from the Hindu perspective, or within Hinduism, because there's 10,000 plus indigenous Aboriginal cultures. Kailasa is one sampradaya, and the way Swamiji shares, right? And I wanted to share this. Basically, is a mantra I'm singing that is pretty much saying, you, me, we are all Paramashiva. You are Atma. You are worthy of celebration.
Karpura Gauram Karunavataram Samsara Saram Bhujagena Haram Sada Vasantam Hidayarvinde Pavam Bhavani Saitam Namami Pavam Bhavani Saitam Namami Pavam Bhavani Saitam Namami Aratikam Samarpayami to you. Aratikam Samarpayami to me. Aratikam स्वस्तिकं समर्पयामि to
be their highest self, right? And that's what Paramashivoham is about as well. It's about taking the time and raising people to self-actualize or live enlightenment. So we're going to go into unclutching meditation.
This technique is not even to be practiced every day. No. This is supposed to be practiced effortlessly, internalized effortlessly. Suddenly at one day, you will unclutch. From the very desire of holding on to this body, you will just unclutch. Now, close your eyes. For a few minutes, I'll guide you. Your eyes are desire to move your body. Any desire. Just see that desire. Don't judge. There may be so many desires. Do not witness. Do not judge. Do not say right or wrong. Do not suppress. Just see. Don't say, don't think your desire is right or wrong. Just see it. Let your eyes be closed. Let them come. When desires arise, let them happen. Let all the desires arise in you. Don't suppress them. Don't judge them. Don't say they are right or wrong. Just let them happen. Decide. Do not decide based on right or wrong. Just unclutch from all the thoughts. Let your eyes be closed. Just unclutch from all the thoughts. Anything comes up, just unclutch. Just disconnect. Don't judge. Don't say it is right. Don't say it is wrong. Just disconnect. Unclutch.
Thank you for joining me today. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Let's close with a peace prayer. Peace for you, peace for me, and global peace. Have a good evening. Aloha, Nitiana